Alright, as the title says, I've got one 4-player game here for you and 4 1-player games for you to check out. And I'll bring up the deck list at the end. There was no change in the deck list throughout these games. So, this is a two-headed giant game being advertised by Minion and Kodaki here as being not nice, they said, basically. I can't remember how they said it. Let's see if they've got a game up. I don't see one here. Anyway, they were advertising it as being a rough game for whoever joined, and that was exactly, as you know, that's exactly what I'm looking for every time. So I was excited about that. So this was my hand, and so as it turns out, by the way, these two people are probably working together. They're playing mono blue each, so lots of counters, I imagine, lots of control. And my partner here is playing Kresh, the Worthless. So there's the commanders there. And I had a mulligan, and he had a mulligan. So I mulliganed into this, and then I had to mulligan again. He mulligans into this and decides to keep, I guess, hoping he draws a green for a mana for Kodama's Reach. So I mulligan into this and figure that's going to have to do, because it's probably going to be basically 1 versus 2. Anyway, so now I'm just going to hurry through these games. So I start out with Mana Vault, and everybody, sets up in the beginning. Turn 2, I draw. Bloom Tender is very nice right there. So we know I'm playing Edric. I'm going to minimize. Kodaki's the Talrand guy. This is the Thada guy over here. So my opponent, or my partner here, fortunately, top decks top. You have to wonder, I'm pretty sure, in fact, that they named top because of the term top decking, and it sculpts the top of your deck. I'm pretty sure that that's exactly what they had in mind there. So anyway, because they're both threatening blue, I go ahead and just play a map here to see if I can draw them out. But with 6 mana, I'm fairly confident neither of them is going to counter, even though I don't have anything to follow up. They don't know that. And they don't. So I don't play Edric. I just pass for the turn, because what I'm going to do is get 2 uncounterable creatures into play. So my partner here goes for a Kodama's Reach, and I was glad I didn't play a commander, because there's the counter I suspected. Although in some sense it might have been better if my partner had been able to resolve that. So this guy plays Rhystic Study. I thought he was going to play Thada. I was hoping Thada, actually, considering I have the Gilded Drake, but Rhystic will have to do. So end of turn I sack the map and fetch myself a Cavern of Souls, and this is one of the reasons why I love map, because I really don't like playing against mono blue decks and having to play their game. I want to play my game. So now Cavern of Souls comes down, naming Elf, cast Edric and pay, send for some cards. I thought it was doing pretty well until Rapid Hybridization here hits, and I do get a frog out of that deal, and I am going to be able to play an uncounterable Edric next turn, so I suppose that is fine. But so my partner here plays Thrun. How lucky for me that he happens to have a good card against these 2 players in his deck. And Thada gets to draw a card, but at least we've got an uncounterable beatstick that hopefully will start drawing cards with Edric. So this guy plays his commander, and this guy plays his commander. And I don't know if you're paying attention, but something very cool is about to happen. So here it is. I tap 3 mana and play Gilded Drake and pay. Stealing Talrand. And I now have 2 mana off of Bloom Tender plus 1. I use the colorless off of Cavern of Souls and play Snap on my Gilded Drake. Paying 1. And getting a creature thanks to Talrand, untapping 2 lands. And then I play Gilded Drake, pay again, and steal Thada. So in the 1-player versus 2-player column, check a box. You can check this off as winning. And then I go ahead and attack with my 3/3 rapidly hybridized creature. And I suppose because the minion doesn't want to see me abuse Gilded Drake any further, he blocks and trades. So that's cool with me. Unfortunately, I don't have Edric in play to help my partner here. And for whatever reason, he doesn't attack. I think that was a big mistake there. So I'm going to just kind of scroll down. There's a Mana Vault up there going to be dealing damage to me for the rest of this game. So this guy plays map, and I'm like, oh gosh, do not have Homeward Path. As you know, as you may know, I play Homeward Path even though I play things like Gilded Drake. Precisely for this reason. Sometimes, even if you play Control Magics, which I assume this guy does, you are going to be the one who's has your stuff stolen. It's nice to be able to have the option, and obviously, like, if he had a Homeward Path and he used this and played it, he would probably just win the game, giving back both of these creatures. I mean, we would be done for, I think. Just shows how great that card is in any deck that runs creatures. Anyway, so main phase, down comes Edric, and I pay. No counters for them. And then I play Wirewood Symbiote and pay as well. But I can't attack, because if I send just a token, he's going to phase it out. If I send either commander, he's going to phase out the commander, it'll come back to them. So I can't attack at all, at least not this turn, and it's because this guy used his Strip Mine not knowing that a Mystifying Maze was coming down. So I have to pass. But at least I have Wirewood so I can protect my Edric from further shenanigans. So my partner finally starts dealing damage. This guy cycles a land and whatever. And draws a card, since he can't get mazed. And then I was really kind of hoping he would not play the Solemn here, and he would play Sensei's Divining Top and say go. That's the correct play here. It's top, pay 1 extra, and then 1 to use the top. Activate the Strip Mine on this thing. Just say go. But I can't play for people. He plays Solemn, so this guy over there, and then and then I sent him a tell, like, I need you to strip the maze so that I can attack and draw, 7. So he doesn't pay the mana, so he just, in his eagerness to develop, he feeds this guy a card. And the card he feeds him is Mana Drain. So not only does he feed him a card, but he feeds him 4 mana. So at this point, I feel like, in a way, I'm sitting here playing against these two guys plus this guy who's shooting me in the back. And this guy gets down with Cage. So I had to read it twice. At least it will not work for his partner. So let's see what happens with minions. 7 mana. We could easily have lost the game there if he had Cyclonic Rift. But he has Factor Fiction, and he allows me to separate the piles for some reason. So I separate them just like this. Because here's the thing, he's got mana, he's going to want to play Trinket Mage, go get himself a Soul Ring or a Mana Crypt, use that with the map, play some more mana, use Glen to recover. Or, he, his options are that, or, have a couple of islands and then he could, Zenith for 2 in the long run. He's already choked on manas, or cards in hand, so even if he plays land, he'll probably be discarding a couple of cards. So that's why I set it up this way. What I did not want to do is put land together with Glen or Trinket and make it very easy for him to deploy multiple cards this turn. So he selects Glen Elendra, Trinket, hit the bin, and he gets double land and draw 3, which is fine with me. But he has a Jace, so he's gonna +1 to mitigate all of my 1 toughness, 1 power creatures, and he has to discard for the turn, and his Zenith goes away, which is great. Worthless. He just took it because he wanted the 2 lands. So that, again, that's why I split it that way. So I draw for the turn, and I could have done this perhaps a little differently. What I should have probably done was sent 1 guy at Jace, that way my partner could finish Jace off. But I get greedy and I send all of my guys who have 2 power, none at Jace, and I want it because I want to draw 4 cards instead of 3. Plus I get to use Thada, and it works out for me. The 4th card down is a Merchant Scroll, so I Thada and get a Soul Ring because there was no Mana Crypt in the deck over there. So I play Soul Ring and I start letting this guy draw cards. Sure, you can have a card. Take that. And I Merchant Scroll. You can have another card. And I get a Drake. And then I Rift too aggressively. I wasn't thinking. I didn't realize Rift would affect my partner. I don't play in partners very much. I didn't read it. carefully enough. I should have waited till my partner said done. So I riffed and cost my partner some mana in terms of development, but that's okay. So this guy now has 13 cards in his hand. He's got 6. And then I strip away this guy's land so that he won't be able to play his 6 mana artifact. And I send my partner a private tell saying, hey, you need to strip away his maze because it's been hurting me. And then for whatever reason he plays Lightning Greaves. Crazy here. I mean, the thing to play would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So just play Thrun, use your top, and activate your strip mine. That's where it's at. I don't know what this guy's doing. And then he lets the guy untap before stripping, and if you're going to strip it, just kill it. But whatever. So this guy, he plays Acquire, targeting me. And at this point his choices are Soul Ring and Crypt. He can get Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice, Umezawa's Jite, Skull Clamp, and he can go get himself a Winter Orb. Basically he has nothing helpful whatsoever other than getting mana. And after realizing that and realizing how like his turn is totally wasted, this guy's got 13 cards in hand, he's going to be discarding like 7 cards. He just gives up. He goes and gets Winter Orb. Also, his buddy was prodding him. He kept saying, like, hurry up and pick an artifact. Hurry it up. And so he just was like, fine, here, Winter Orb. You happy now? And the guy was like, yeah. Oh, yeah, here he said, I mean, it's a good game, so just pick something. Okay. Can never go. I said, you can never go wrong with Soul Ring. And he's like, how about that, minion? So, yeah. So he scoops. And that's it. Edric kill 2 opponents, both playing mono blue, loaded with counters and everything else. They both fall to a combination of Thada and Talrand, donated generously by my opponents thanks to the super cool power of Gilded Drake. So that was that 4-man. Now I have a few single games that hopefully will play out as well for your enjoyment. Here I was playing against a different mono blue opponent, Centered, who is a more challenging opponent in general, usually. Although I don't know how this game will play out. So I get first turn Elf, second turn Wirewood, and then I've got this ready to go for Arbor Fetch. So he plays Latinum's Legacy. You know, Latinum's Legacy, I think, is underestimated. If this card actually was like Sea Beyond, it would be probably it would be played pretty heavily, I think. The fact that it takes a turn to draw the cards is a definite bummer. But basically, the card is like, you know, when you brainstorm, you draw 3 and you put 2 back, and then you want to use like a sack land to shuffle away the 2 cards that you don't want, right? I mean, this card here lets you draw one, shuffle away one of those cards. But it puts the shuffle together with it. So this card's almost like a brainstorm that has a built-in shuffle effect. Because he's going to get 2 cards. Anyway, so end of his turn I play Misty Rainforest and he trick binds it. So he gets a Sinkhole. So you'd think, oh crap, Sinkhole, it's probably pretty good. Well, it is, but he's still way behind. So he plays with draw, bounces 2 of my cards. So he's trying to play like a tempo game. In order to beat the tempo, I fetch myself a Force of Will and play Edric, forcing his remand with opposition. Draw 2 more cards. And then down comes Map. And Map for Cradle. And send just the fairies. So I send just the fairies because pretty sure right here what he's going to do is play Venser. There's also a chance of like Teferi, but I figured Venser would be his play. And yep. So he Vensers away Edric, so that I don't get a card. And that's why I didn't send the other 1/1s. It'd just be smashing them into Vensers. Not good. So So no big deal there. I get a point of damage and get to play Oracle and lock into a land off the top. So that's cool. Pass for the turn. And he plays Aether Adept, trying to continue to control the uncontrollable spread of insects, but every time he kills an insect, it's like killing a Mox Emerald. So I suppose that's very sensible to do. However, he's tapped out with no counters. And I've got Treachery on Venser, so no, he won't be replaying that. Down comes Edric, I get an insect, and in goes quite a few creatures. I send in Arbor Elf, Cloud, Oracle, and Insect. If you look the way the blocking's going to pan out, he can block there and there. He can kill an insect, and he can block Arbor with Aether Adept, but I get to Wirewood the Arbor back up, and then that's just going to reproduce an insect when I cast it, so I lose nothing and gain 2 cards. And one of them is Winter Orb. So, bye-bye. Another game that ends with Winter Orb resolving. Always pleasure to do. So here, my opponent is playing one of the new commanders. He's playing Marath, Will of the Wild, and he's going first. And my hand is a little sketchy, but I figured, you know, hey, well, it's not sketchy, but it doesn't have any long-term solutions to this guy. And that guy's he's a pretty big threat, so depending on how fast he comes out the gates, I could be in trouble. But since he has first turn Arbor, I can't resist killing it and hoping that that means that he just doesn't have much going over there. Turns out he does. Sylvan Safekeepers and a forest, so I figure it's time to develop until I see the strip and I think, hey, you know what? 2 green sources in a row. Don't care about taking a point a turn. Less land for him to actually use that thing. Strip mine's probably the play. And he plays Forgotten Cave, and I think, yeah, I probably got him. That's probably like the last land in his hand. But nope. I don't know if he's the top deck king or what, but yep, he's right back in the game, and in fact, he's pulling ahead. And I have no realistic way to catch up. I'm actually in a lot of trouble here because he's going to be able to go get white and then get his Marath down and kill my elf right away, depending on if he has a land. Yep. So, boom, there goes the elf. And I can't steal this thing. I can't bounce it. I can't do anything to it. This combination is really harsh. So I hold the crypt and say go. And it allows me to play a Remand on his Druid's Repository, his mana producer, which is fine. I'll take a few points of damage. Well, I was thinking about it, but I was like, you know what? I can block Sylvan Safekeeper. He can kill his commander to pump up Sylvan and kill my guy, but at least I kill his commander, so I might as well have blocked his commander in this case. But there is always the chance that he would let me kill the Safekeeper and only shoot my guy once and keep his commander, and that would be good too. But no. So I have a Gilded Drake, but not so good against Sylvan Safekeeper. I can basically like kill a land, and then Gilded Drake would die. And that just didn't seem so great. So I just play Mana Crypt and say go. And the reason I do that is because I figure he would do this. Cast Marath for 5, and that lets me Snapcaster into Remand and keep looking for an answer. And I may have found one. At least these swords will protect my guy against Marath. So now I can start drawing some cards and doing some good stuff here. Maybe I don't care about drawing cards. Maybe I care more about mana. So I decide that's what I do. That's what I want. Mana. I float a mana, and then after combat I play Edric and move the sword right back over to my commander. So now I've got a blocker for this. He can't Marath it. Pretty good shape. He has Wirewood. And also, by bouncing the Marath back to his hand, it is very strange, but it actually resets the cost on this, and that's usually a bad thing. you know, usually you want him to pay like 5, 7, or whatever the cost should be. But in this weird instance, it's actually a boon for me because he only gets 3 counters instead of 5. And then he clones my Cradle with Vesuva. Yuck. So that needs to die as soon as possible. Fortunately, I have a way to make that happen. So down comes the fat stack. And I decide what I'm going to do is not kill Gaia's Cradle. What? So he starts sacking. I guess he doesn't want elephants. And I point that out to him, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay. So, and I send my guy, get a card, and da-da-da-da. Go away, problems. Problems be gone. Man, this card just unbelievably good for Edric. Like, it plugged so many problems, situations that this deck might otherwise have faced. Every game is just like, go get Rift, win game. Not every game, but I mean, this between him and Rift and Winter Orb, so many games just end in crushing defeat, you know. So he plays Repository for who knows why and gives up. And here I got a game against Carador. And this looks like a hand that's kind of crappy but keepable anyway thanks to the map. I probably should have played Path Map, but I guess. So I draw top decking. Since I top deck the Wasteland, I figure I play the Hive Master here and then get into Trinket Mage territory. But he plays a Mulch and draws 3 cards. And the thought process here was if he plays, I wanted to get this guy down quickly so that if he plays Elves, I would be able to produce creatures. So Trinket Mage comes down and fetches Crypt. Crypt is going to allow me to activate map right away instead of having to wait. And he plays Gadok Teague. And it's so funny, like, Gadok Teague has been such a huge pain for me in so many games with other decks, but in this deck, you know, it sucks, but whatever. In fact, the funny thing is, it currently is affecting nothing in my hand whatsoever. So yet again, Expedition map proving its worth, fetching a Cradle. It's so funny that this card's so good, Cradle's so good, that there's a good percentage of the time that I play Trinket Mage and go get map just so I can get Cradle. Anyway, he plays Teague, I draw a spell with X in the mana cost. Dope. Anyway, so I metamorph the Trinket and go get myself a Skull Clamp. Playing Edric, making tokens, and Skull Clamp with tokens is pretty good. And then what I do is instead of clamping the token, I kill one of his lands to slow him down. I've got Cradles, so this is a mana source, and I can go ahead and get on top of that like next turn. I don't need to worry about it right now. So right now, his Mulch didn't hit any creatures, so he's just got the 1. This thing's discounted, and it's 7 mana at this time. So I've been keeping that in mind the whole time. And the only issue for me now is that I can't seem to find any blue, so I go digging. So search, nope. Shackles, take your 1 toughness guy. Search, now this guy's 6 mana. Still no blue. Priest, and yeah, I'm done again. Go ahead. He gets to draw with Graveborn and plays a Reaper of the Wilds. Pretty good card. Pretty good card. It's funny, I remember when Urnum Djinn was considered a good card. They stacked Death Touch, Hexproof, and the Scrying thing on Urnum and took away the Forest Walk and said that's fair. So funny. Anyway, so it's up to that Strip Mine, which will allow me to continue the mana suppression, buy me more time to deal with Carador. Hopefully finding some blue at some point here is just crazy. The problem is, of course, I can't play both blue and a Strip Mine. It's one or the other. So I play the blue instead. Play Araio, Glen, clamp my Trinket, send my Trinket, figuring that he would do exactly what he does. Draw a couple of cards and move the clamp over to Glen and discard for the turn. I throw away Opposition, which I can't cast because of Gadok. Crit Zenith, which I can't cast because of that Gadok. and a forest, since my plan, of course, is to play strip mine, and I've got a cradle in play anyway. So he plays Splinter, Fright, and a Devoted Druid. No big deal there. Sends for 5, and of course I throw Glen in front of it and draw 2 cards and get my Glen back. And yay for Force of Will. So now I'm finally able to get a 3rd island into play and steal Greyborn Muse, so that'll be less cards for him. And then just means this thing will be a mana source until he finds a way to do something about my theft. He may not have time to find that. So then I steal his Gaddock, Phantom Image my Sower, steal his Reaper thing, equip, start scrying and equipping. So I go ahead and leave the Sylvan Library on top, of course. Play that and a sword, flip Arayo. And before I can continue this absolute insane turn, my opponent gives up. So that was pretty cool. And in this final game, my opponent is playing Oloro, another one of the new commanders. Very cool. As soon as Zur is banned, this is definitely the go-to commander for these colors. But while Zur is legal, it's not going to be. If you're playing it, you're just strictly nerfing yourself. There's absolutely no reason you should be playing that card when Zur is legal. So this thing, Serene Master, extremely cool card. So whenever it blocks, anything it blocks is gonna die basically, and it's gonna live always. So it's like the craziest wall ever printed. It's a wall that can pick up equipment and start swinging, provided it's not GT, but I mean you could pick up like one of the swords or something, start attacking, and at the same time it is the best blocker ever printed. It kills everything it blocks basically. I mean you can always find creatures for which there are exceptions, but dang, that's kind of nuts. So I, however, have a deck that doesn't have to attack to win. So I Zenith for 3 to slow him down, and also to set up the Wirewood Viridian combo. That way I don't have to sweat any further future artifacts. And yeah. Play Trinket for a Soul Ring. And then a Brainstorm. And shuffle away what I don't want. And end the turn with this in play. Oh, no, I don't end the turn. I'm sorry. I Viridianed to untap my Boreal Druid and tap my Soul Ring for 3, so that way I can maximize the mana that I'm spending this turn. And my opponent plays Deep Analysis, no problems. And it looks like he's probably just playing the Precon. So if I don't win against a Precon, something's definitely wrong, right? And there is the wonderful Gilded Drake, and we've seen what he can do already. Hello, Manowar, whom I've been saving. So up comes Gilded Drake, sword moves over, and I mash for a few points of damage. And then get down with opposition. And that is basically all she wrote. So I don't bother picking up the elf to untap a creature to tap that last land. I figured 1 mana is okay. And I go for Undetermined Mystical Tutor, but he finally gives up. So that is it. I do hope that you enjoyed those games, and I do think that it was excellent representation of some of the changes that I've made recently. The Gilded Drake, the Mana War came into play that time. I can't remember if Chord was effective in these. I can't remember if I used that in these or not. I had some others where Chord was very excellent, but Cavern of Souls, Expedition map, they've been in for a while, Path, but you can see how powerful, like, just playing, because of these lands, like, it makes map just so very, very good in so many situations. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. And if I don't make any more videos, I'm not sure if I will, have a happy holiday.